Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss the concept of performance appraisal. When we talk about performance appraisal, it is generally appraising the performance of an employee working in an organization. This process is also known as annual review, performance review, or evaluation, or also it may be termed as employee appraisal. Generally, this process tries to evaluate the employee's skills, achievements, and growth. Also, the companies try to provide feedback to every employee on the basis of the appraisal report, and they just try to motivate the employees to improve their performance if there is a kind of requirement, if the performance needs to be m- you can say improved in the organization. And this process, this performance appraisal, generally it is conducted at any given time, but tend to be annual, semi-annual, or quarterly. If we talk about the definition of the performance appraisal, the two definition we can see here, that is given by Dale Beach and Dale Yoder. According to Dale Beach, performance appraisal is systematic evaluation of the individual with respect to his or her performance on the job and his or her potential for development. Generally, whatever we are performing in the organization, on the basis of that performance, we are being appraised. We as an employee are being appraised in the organization, and several rewards, incentives, and the increments are based upon the report of the performance appraisal. The second definition, that is given by Dale Yoder, and which includes all formal procedures used to evaluate personalities, contributions, and potential of group members in a working organization. And generally, it is a continuous process to secure information necessary for making correct and objective decision on employees. uh, if we discuss the concept of performance appraisal, the idea behind this concept is to continuously enhance the employee's performance, and also we can plan for future. We can identify the loopholes in the performance of the employee, and accordingly we can just provide them the opportunity to improve their performance. The next term is performance management, and this term is much wider than the concept performance appraisal, because it just not only involves the appraising of the employee, but it involves, or it manages the performance of an employee from the entry of the employee to the exit of the employee in the organization. So if we talk about performance management, it is a much broader and complicated function of HR, as it encompasses activities such as joint goal setting, continuous progress review, and frequent communications, feedback and coaching for improved performance, implementation of employee development programs, and rewarding achievements. That means I've just talked about that performance management is a process through which the performance of an employee is managed. Means once an employee entered into the organization, how he is performing, he will be provided with the accurate feedback. If there is any loophole, he that loophole will be modified by providing them training by providing training to the employees if it is required. Also, several development programs can be implemented in the organization. Proper communication should be provided. So, basically, in the performance management system, it starts with the joining of a new employee in the organization, and it ends when an employee quits the organization. Okay, when you are working in the organization, your performance is reviewed time to time, and the feedbacks are given. If any kind of improvement is required, that is also suggested to the particular employee, and for that several training programs are also arranged for the employee. Talking about the difference between performance appraisal and management, performance appraisal, we can see it is operational. Whatever you are performing, you are going to get the you are going to get the feedback on the basis of your performance. When we talk about performance management, it is a kind of strategy through which we can improve the performance of the employee. We can motivate them to perform better in the organization. So this strategy needs to be implemented in the organization with you can say very effectively. It should be used in the organization. Performance appraisal, if we talk about, that is individual, whereas when we talk about performance management, it is a collective process. Means collectively we try to manage the performance of the employees in the organization. Appraisal is often linked to the compensation, means whatever you are performing in the organization, accordingly you will be compensated. And performance management is usually not related to compensation. We just focus on improving the performance of the employee in the organization, so that somewhere organization may also affected if the performance of the employee is not good. Appraisal generally takes place once or twice per year, but performance management is an ongoing or a continuous process through which we continuously keep an eye over the performance of the employee, all the employee in the organization. Appraisal is not linked to business needs, as I've told you that it is linked to compensation, whereas performance management is linked to the business needs. Whatever expectation we have with our employees, accordingly we need to treat our employees, accordingly we need to train our employees, so that they can give their best in improving the performance, their performance as well as the organization's performance. Next is the term potential appraisal, which is a future oriented appraisal. And basically, the main objective of this term is to identify and evaluate the potential of the employees who can just handle the higher position responsibilities in the organizational hierarchy. We can see that in organization, lot of employees are working. Some of the employees are very talented one, very potential one. So what we have to do, we need to identify those potential and those talented candidates in our organization, and accordingly we can identify them, and we can uh, train them for, so that they would be able to handle the higher roles and responsibilities in the organization in near future. Also, it is a process through which we can determine an employee's strength and weakness, and this is used in the organization with a view uh, to improve the future performance of the employee. Okay, we know that if some of the employees are well talented, well potential, but due to any of the reason they are not in the position to perform better in the organization, so generally what happens, their strengths and weakness are being analyzed, and accordingly they are treated in the organization to improve their future performance, which can be uh, equally important for the success of the organization. In such situation, in such circumstances, the person whom we are trying to train might be aware or might not be aware with such kind of scenario. Now, what is the purpose of potential appraisal? If we are trying to identify the good potential in our organization and we are trying to train them, then what is the basic purpose behind this process? So, first is to advise the employees about their future performance. Yes, definitely, if they are very talented, but we need to advise them that through what techniques you can just improve your future performance. We can also advise the employees about what they must do to improve their career prospects. Okay, the career prospect is very very important to all the personnel, and they are always focused how they can develop their career, how they can get a good opportunity in their career. So if this concept is being used in the organization, the potential appraisal, then the employees will be attracted towards this concept, and they will just try to improve their performance in the organization, so so that they may get a good opportunity to handle the roles and responsibilities at the higher level. Also, this process help an organization to identify a suitable succession plan. Means in future, if we want to replace some senior personnel with an effective, young, talented person, so this process is going to be very very effective. Also, we need to update the training efforts that is put into the organization or not, time to time. Means we need to evaluate that whether there is requirement of training program for the employees or not. If it is required, then it must be provided to the employees. Otherwise, the employees may deviate from their actual work path, or due to lack of knowledge, they may not able to perform up to their maximum strength. Now, through what mechanism we can just find a potential candidate into our organization? So here some of the mechanisms, some of the methods are used. That is rating by supervisor. We can just have a talk with the superior and take the feedback of that particular individual, and on the basis of that we can just analyze that whether this person is uh, perfect for the potential appraisal or not. Psychological tests can be conducted, and through that also we can be able to find out the potential candidate. Simulation games can be used through which we can check the analytical ability, their understanding level of the individuals, and the performance record. We can just check the past performance of the employee, and on the basis of that we can just find out that yes, this is the perfect candidate who can hold the higher responsibilities or roles or not. Now, coming back to our performance appraisal, what is the need of performance appraisal, or what is the need of appraising the performance of employees in the organization? We know that continuously, if employees are going on working, and instead of that, they are not getting any words of appreciation, any rewards, any you can say incentives, then somewhere that may demotivate the employees working in the organization. So, just to maintain their motivation level, just to maintain their concentration on the work, we need to implement such kind of process into the organization, and that's why the review of the performance is required. Through this appraisal we can also gather information, uh, and through which we can diagnose deficiency in employees regarding their skills knowledge. Means if they want something more, if they want any kind of training, then that needs to be provided to the employees at the time whenever they want. Also through this method we can just prevent grievances that may enter into our organization, and several disciplinary activities can also be prevented while we just try to adopt such kind of process in our organization. Also through performance appraisal process we can just use this process for a promotion and a salary fixation of the employees in our organization. So somewhere this if we are introducing, if we are implementing this performance appraisal in our organization, it is going to be of it is going to be very very effective, not from the side of the employer but from the side of the employees also. Employees will be very very satisfied, they will be very motivated if they get good incentive, they get increment in the salary, and they will continue to work in the organization with great dedication, with great loyalty. Now, how the performance of the employees in the organization will be appraised? So, we'll be discussing several methods of performance appraisal. Two methods generally two methods of performance appraisal is used in the organization. One is traditional method and another one is modern methods. So, first we will be looking at the traditional methods. Which is based on studying the personal qualities of the employees, which may include knowledge, initiative, loyalty, leadership, and judgment. So first method under traditional method is ranking method, in which evaluator places employees from a particular group in order of overall performance, and starting with the top performer who is rated the highest, and moving down to the poorest performer in the group who receives the lowest ranking. Means to say, based upon your achievement, based on your work done in the organization, the top performer is rated highest in the organization, and moving down to the lowest performer, means who haven't achieved the targets that they have been given. So definitely they are not going to get a good rating, and they will lie in the category of poor performers in the organization, and that likewise their performance are being evaluated. Second is a graphic rating scale, in which a scale is there that lists a number of traits and a range of performance for each employee. The employee is then rated by identifying the score that best describes his or her performance for each trait. On a scale, several traits are mentioned in this process. On a scale, several traits are mentioned, and every employee is rated uh, on the basis of their performance. that is graphing rating scale, and whatever score they get on the basis of that uh, they get the rating, and they fall in the category that whether they are a good performer or a bad performer. So it depends upon the number of traits that have been designed and what is their performance when it is compared with the standard traits that have been identified from the side of the organization. So next is the paired comparison method. It is a variation of the ranking method in which the performance of each employee is compared with every other employee, and the employee who receives the greatest number of favorable comparison is ranked the highest. What happens in paired comparison method? The performance of each employee is compared to all other employees in the organization, and through that comparison, the employees who receives the greater number of favorable comparisons is ranked the highest. So every employee is one employee is compared to every employee in this particular process, and whosoever receives the favorable highest number of favorable comparisons is ranked the highest. Critical incident method. In this process, the evaluator tries to maintain the records of employees favorable and unfavorable performance. Means whatever the particular employee have achieved and whatever they have not achieved, everything is being recorded, and in that and on the basis of that record, on the basis of that incidents those incidents, the appraisal of the performance of the employees are appraised. Next is essay method, in which the evaluator writes a brief narrative of the employee's performance. Means to say, the boss, the supervisor, just brief the character, the performance of the employee who is working under him, working under him, and on the basis of that story the employee is being appraised. But the major criticism of this method is that it is very subjective, and the evaluation criteria left entirely to the discretion of the evaluator. Means it totally depends upon the evaluator that how he is going to narrate the character, the performance of the specific employee. Also, somewhere it depends upon the writing skills of the evaluator also, and on the basis of their story the employee gets appraised. Next is the checklist method, in which the rater is given a checklist of the descriptions of the behavior of the employees on a job, and the checklist contains a list of statements on the basis of which the rater describes the job performance of the employee. Whosoever is the rater, he gets a checklist, and on the basis of that checklist he needs to identify that how many employees have just uh, how many employee have just completed the task that was assigned to them, and whatever thing is that is mentioned in the checklist that is being completed by the concerned employees. Next is the force distribution method, that is also known as bell curve rating or stacked ranking. This method is preferred by many employers as it creates a visible differentiation between performance of each employee in the organization. In this method, what happens? A small fraction of the entire workforce is to be placed at the extremes, which may be outstanding performers or poor performers. Okay, means at both the streams, uh, outstanding performers as well as the poor performers are kept, and the large section of the workforce, they just fall in the middle of the distribution. You can just have a look at the graph that here you can see the force distribution method. All this method is also known as force distribution method because average number of employees are forced to be in the middle of the section. That's why it's also known as force distribution method, and as it gains the shape of the bell, that's why it's also known as bell shape method or bell curve method. This method of performance management typically chooses the normal distribution curve to represent the performance distribution, which is shown below. So this is force distribution method. Now coming to the modern methods, modern methods also consist of several types, and it can be said that modern methods are an improvement over the traditional methods, which attempted to improve the shortcomings of the old methods, such as biasness, subjectivity, etc. In traditional method, what we used to see that generally the evaluation of the performance of an employee totally depends upon the discretion of the evaluator, and the chances of biasness and chances of partiality can be observed up to a greater extent. So in modern method, just it there was a there was an attempt made to just prevent the kind of biasness that we can observe in the traditional methods. So one by one, we'll have a look at the different modern methods that can be adopted in the organization for appraising the performance of the employee. So first is management by objective, that is MBO. It is basically a result-based system that relies on the manager and the employee to jointly agree on objectives, the attainment of which becomes the basis of evaluation for the next appraisal period. Basically in this standard is fixed, and the whatever the employee have achieved, that is compared with the standard, and on the basis of that the performance of employee is evaluated. We can have a look at the process of MBO. Here, first of all, subordinate prepares a list of objectives for coming period of 6 to 12 months. For next 6 to 12 months, employees generally prepare the objective what they need to achieve in upcoming 6 or 12 months. Then subordinate discuss the same thing, the content and the plans that he have fixed with his superior, and both of them agree on the content of the job and the KRAs. A final layout is prepared. After the final layout is prepared, checkpoints are established for evaluation of the progress. Okay, at several interval of time, the evaluation is done to check that employee is just going on the right track or not. So for that, checkpoints are established just to evaluate the progress of the plan, whatever employee have fixed, whatever the organization have fixed, the employees are able to achieve that or not. And finally, at the end, both the parties meet to discuss the result that is achieved by the employee. Next is BARS, that is behavioral anchored rating scale. This BARS combines elements from critical incident and graphic rating scale approaches. We remember when we were discussing traditional methods, there we have discussed critical incident, means whatever incident, whatever uh, favorable or unfavorable performances that has been shown by the employees, that has been recorded, and on the basis of those incidents employees were evaluated, performance of employees were evaluated. And graphic rating scale, a scale is being prepared on the several traits are mentioned there, and on the basis of those traits employees performance were evaluated. So what we have done in bars, basically it is a combination of critical incident and graphic rating scale. First, the supervisor rates employees according to items on a numerical scale. Okay, on a scale, again, we have fixed certain traits, and the supervisor rates the employees in numerical value. Job behaviors from critical incidents, effective and ineffective behaviors are described more objectively. Now, they refer to the critical incidents that is effective or ineffective, and that is described in a more objective form. Various steps that we follow in bars we can see here. First, we identify the critical incident or behavior. Okay, whatever behavior that has been shown by the employees, that is being identified, and then performance dimensions are identified on the basis of which the employees are going to be evaluated. Finally, reclassification of critical behaviors. Again, what a behavior that is being shown by the employees that are reclassified. Okay, we have identified it in first step. Then we tend to classify the critical behaviors of the employee, and to each critical behavior, we have to assign the scale values. Okay, and that tends to develop in as a bar instrument, that is BAR's behavioral anchored rating scale. Next is 360-degree appraisal. It is a very common method that is being used in the organization, which involves appraisal rating of an employee or manager by everyone above, alongside, and below him. Generally, 360-degree appraisal has four integral components, in which first is self appraisal, superiors appraisal, subordinates appraisal, and peer appraisal. So talking about self-appraisal, first of all, the first step of this 360-degree appraisal is that employee himself or herself gets a chance to evaluate his strength or weakness, whatever he have achieved. Means to say he need to judge his own performance, what he thinks about his performance, that his performance was up to the mark or not. Then uh, comes the superior's appraisal, where the employee's responsibilities and the actual performance is rated by the supervisor. Whatever rating the employees have given himself, that is being cross-checked by the superiors. And then subordinates appraisal is also being done. Subordinates gets a chance to judge the employee on the parameters like communication, motivating ability, superiors ability to delegate the work, what leadership qualities they have. So on the basis of all these criteria, subordinates also appraise their employee. Next is the peer appraisal. Also, feedback is being provided by peers that can help to find employees' ability to work in a team, whether that employee is very effective while working in a team, or he has a kind of cooperation or sensitivity towards others or not. So, based on all these factors, the appraisal of the employees is being done in 360-degree appraisal. Now, these were the methods of performance appraisal that we talked about. Coming to the importance of performance appraisal. Why? What is the importance of performance appraisal if we generally implement it in the organization? So, first is that on the basis of this appraisal, we can find the employee who is eligible to get performance promotion. Sorry, means those who have performed better, they might get a chance for promotion to the higher positions. Compensation on the basis of the performance appraisal, the compensation of the employees can be reclassified, or it can be revised, and which may contain several benefits, several non-monetary benefits, monetary benefits, or increment in the salaries, or any kind of extra benefit that is being uh, initiated from the side of the management. So somewhere, if we are performing very good in the organization, our compensation is going to be affected. Employees development, as we have discussed, then that in performance appraisal, during the appraising of an employee, if employees who are not able to perform in a very good way, their loopholes are being found out, and training and development programs are being introduced in the organization to just develop the potentialities of the organization. Next is the selection validation. Somewhere performance appraisal helps the supervisor to understand the validity and importance of the selection procedure. Means our selection process is valid, or it is effective or not. This is also justified from the with the help of performance appraisal process in the organization. And in future, whether selection process needs any kind of change or not, that is also based on this performance appraisal. Communication, effective communication is must for every organization, and that must be very very effective between employees as well as employers. Through performance appraisal, the employees can understand and accept skills of subordinates, uh, the kind of worthy the all the employees will be able to understand and create a trust and confidence in superiors. Also, it also helps in maintaining cordial and congenial labor management relationship, and also somewhere it develops the spirit of work, which boosts the morale of employees. And if all the factors are being implemented in the organization, we assure that these factors are there in the organization, then somewhere it may lead to effective communication. Motivation, obviously, if a performance of the employees are appraised by the management, then it definitely motivates the employees up to a greater extent, and he or she may tend to improve their performance in the future as well. Some of the limitations of performance appraisal are also there, as we discussed that biasness. In traditional methods, the biasness can be seen up to a greater extent, and that needs to be minimized while appraising the performance of the employee. Whenever we are trying to fix the standard to judge the performance of the employee, that must be free of ambiguity. That should be very clear evidence If we have not sufficient evidence regarding the performance of any employee, then that also becomes one of the major limitations of performance appraisal, because employees who are very good performer in the organization, but due to lack of evidence, we are not able to prove that he is a good performer, then somewhere it leads to uh, one of the major drawback of performance appraisal. There are several qualities also which remains without appraisal, and that needs to be included while appraising the performance of the employee. Whenever we are working on any of the methods of performance appraisal, both the things needs to be avoided. That is leniency or strictness. Okay, neither the rater should be very lenient or not he should be very strict while appraising the performance of the employee. Average rating problem also needs to be minimized, because many of the employees who are a good performer, they may also lie in that category as well, and somewhere that is going to demotivate the employees as well. Obviously, in performance appraisal, influence of we need to prevent the influence of man. Whatever a employee is performing in the job, that needs to be evaluated. Rather, a man needs evaluation on that in that process. Similarity errors should also be minimized while we talk about the performance appraisal. So this is the concept of performance appraisal that we were trying to discuss in this session, and here we have come to an end also. Thank you.